I'd like to call this meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. And we will start with our flag salute. Mrs. Rivas, would you lead us in the
Yes, ma'am. Please stand. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now begin by approval of the minutes.
Karen, I can just barely hear you.
Do we have, thank you. Do we have a
There.
motion to
There we go.
approve the minutes
I had a correction,
Mhm.
Madam President. So
on the
this
March
is,
8th?
this is the March 8th meeting. Okay. In the hearing session, the second item, it said Alana Leticia Maldonado Stamos spoke regarding her concern from the board. And I checked my notes and she actually spoke about the district's current legal counsel.
Okay, so we can make a correction to the minutes to express that change. And would anybody like to make a motion to approve the
I'll
minutes?
make that motion.
Anybody like to second the motion?
Second.
Okay, any more comments on the minutes of the meeting, March 8th, 2021? Okay, so I'll take a roll call vote. Mrs. Lundin,
Aye.
Mr. Favela,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
and Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
Thank you very much, and I vote aye. And so the minutes of March 8th have been approved. Now moving on to the minutes of March 19th, which is a study session where we learned about the LCAP, super fabulous event. Thank you very much for you and your staff. And so do I have any a motion to approve the minutes of March 19th?
A motion to approve.
And a second?
I will second.
Any additional comments? Okay, I will take a roll call. Mrs. Lundin,
Aye.
Mr. Favela,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
and Ms. Libas.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And now we come to our community relations section of the meeting where we will have a hearing sessions. Do we have any cards?
Yes, we do. And let me pull them up here. Okay, so first up, we have public comment from Kenneth Strauss.
Mr. Favela, could you speak a tiny bit louder?
Yes, first we have Kenneth Ostrowski, subject comment, board policy. So Kenneth, when you're ready. And
Thank you. Can you hear me?
yes,
All right, very good. Thank you. Good evening, governing board and cabinet members. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to address the board. I'm Ken Ostrowski, and I'm speaking as negotiations chair on behalf of the Fallbrook Elementary Teachers Association. FIDA would like to discuss or to address the discussion item for this board meeting regarding changing board policy protocol for visitation of schools. To begin, FIDA strongly believes that for governing board members to make decisions in the best interests of students and all FUESD employees, board members should be able to choose at their discretion when to visit school site campuses and with whom. FIDA does not in any way believe that visiting board members are intrusive or interrupting of instruction or the learning environment. We believe just the opposite. Having board members visit our schools to observe operations will significantly aid in the critical decisions that governing board members must make. How can board members cast votes on critical policy and program decisions if they cannot observe school campuses when and with whom they choose to do so? How can they engage teachers and students in quick conversations to get the pulse of a campus and assess needs, as well as see firsthand in as unobtrusive a manner as possible what students are doing and how they're reacting to instruction? To put it bluntly, we have nothing to hide. If the concern is interruption, It's far more distracting for students when 5 or 6 adults enter a room on a district walkthrough, rather than 1 or 2 board members quietly entering for a quick visit. A change in policy should have no negative effect whatsoever on teachers, students, or for that matter, site principals. FIDA believes that an appropriate policy would include a courtesy notice to the principal of the school several days in advance and include visitations to individual classrooms that last approximately 5 minutes. We do, in fact, welcome our governing board members on campus, and we look forward to seeing you more frequently in the coming months and years as safety permits. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board.
Thank you very much for your efforts in writing and calling in and giving us your opinion. Mr. Favela, are there any more cards?
Yes, next up, we have Leticia Maldonado Stamos, follow-up to previous board meeting.
And Mr. Favela, again, your volume is down. Could you
Okay.
repeat the name again?
Yes, next we have Leticia Maldonado Stamos. Subject of comment is follow-up to the previous board meeting.
Thank you.
Leticia, when you're ready, go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
We just ask her to unmute. I see she's.
I'm sorry, Leticia, Mrs. Thomas, can you unmute? I believe you're on mute still.
You're still muted.
I'm sorry. Do you want to move on, Mr. Favela? We'll come back.
Sure, we will come back to you, Leticia. Okay, next up we have Mr. Luis Eugenio, subject of comment, matter concerning legal counsel of Mr. Shinoff. Go ahead when you're ready. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Seems to be some technical issues. We still have you muted, Luis.
We can't unmute from on our end.
We cannot unmute them on our end.
I wonder if we can give some guidance on where they can.
I
look on
think
the
I
screen.
think he's unmuted now. I'm looking at the phone number. Oh. Hmm.
I'm not sure what we can do. We can try with our next speaker and see if
Okay, okay, good idea.
I would recommend Leticia and Luis maybe try to call back in. I'm not sure if that could help.
Okay, those of you who had problems, if you would log out and log back in, we'll check and we'll have you read or speak to the board at the end of the session. So please, I mean, not the whole session, but the end of this hearing. So log out and log back in. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Favela?
Next, we have Maria E. Gomez, subject of comment, Fabra Caler 2021. Go ahead, Maria, when you're ready.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please, Maria.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Yes, Mrs. Gomez.
Good evening, board members, administrators, staff, and community members. My name is Maria Gomez, and I'm one of the 7 co-chairs that give leadership to our dedicated group of volunteers who organize and conduct our annual Fabra Caler Reading Family Literacy Project, Cesar Chavez Day of Service and Learning. I'm here tonight to let you know that with very short notice and very high commitment, the Fabra Caler Committee has decided to conduct the 17th annual Fallbrook Aleyev 2021 event. We will be holding it on Saturday, May 1st, mostly presented virtually. It will consist of a short live Google Meet to welcome the families to the event. Then a group of grade level activity rooms will be available online where students and parents can go to view pre-recorded videos of guest readers reading a book. We are still working on possibly having workshops for parents, but time constraints may prevent us from offering those this year. After families have had about 45 minutes to listen to fun stories read to them, they are invited to go pick up their free books and backpacks and a make-at-home literacy craft kit in our drive-through setup. Paul Chavez, the president of the Cesar Chavez Foundation and one of Cesar Chavez's sons, will be giving a short keynote as well. We hope that Superintendent Singh will record a welcoming video for parents and their families. Leah Crucial is recruiting our guest readers. And if any of you board members or staff are interested in recording a video of yourselves reading your favorite children's book or a children's book in Spanish to add to the collection for children to listen to, please contact Leah. We would love to have you participate in this dynamic virtual event. We thank you for your support and interest in this educational community event. Parents and students look forward to this every year and are anxious for Fallbrook Aleyev in any form this year. This has been a terribly stressful time for everyone, so we as a group of volunteers are humbled and honored to do what we can to bring some joy and sense of well-being to our Fallbrook families. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
We are very excited that this is going forward virtually. Thank you very much. And I hope all of us on the board will have an opportunity to participate this year. Mr. Favela?
Thank you for that, Maria. And I believe our next comment will be in section 4, item 4 for board operations. So we'll wait for that to come up on our agenda.
Okay, so no more in the hearing session? Okay,
No, I do not.
thank you very
I
much.
don't have any more, and I don't see Luis or Leticia on the call.
I'm sorry.
And I don't see Leticia or Luis on the call.
Okay,
Not calling.
hopefully they'll jump back in before the hearing session. Is that what you're saying will happen before the board operations?
I'm just taking note of that. We had asked them to hold on or call back in to see
Okay,
if we could fix their mics, but I don't see them present.
Leticia's on.
okay. Mr. Favela, Leticia is back on there saying.
Okay, there she is. Hello, Leticia. Can you unmute yourself? You're up to speak.
We're trying a few different things, trying to maybe get anything, but
Have her hold on for just
Oh,
a second.
yeah, she.
Did she unmute herself? Yeah, just for a second, I could see the mute go off.
Oh.
There you are.
There you are.
Oh my God, I am sweating. Woo, my head's all wet, my face is all wet. This tonight is stressful for me. Thank you, thank you. And I apologize for being so backwards in this, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Everybody can hear me, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, very good. Well, good evening, everyone. I'd like to once again address the board regarding the article in The Voice of San Diego. Last month, I read a letter to the board from a group of concerned community members. We didn't get a response, and frankly, we didn't expect a response at the time or soon thereafter. However, at some point, we do expect a response. The issue of having an attorney in the position of Mr. Shinoff, who we don't believe has the best interests of this community, its students, or this board as elected representatives at heart, giving advice and representing our district is concerning to us. As far as we know, and granted we know very little, here we are another 30 days into the year, and he is still, quote, advising and representing, unquote, our board and therefore our community. I realize that at times it's best to let things lie and let them work themselves out. That we do not believe is the case here. Mr. Shinoff's role in our district is a problem that needs to be resolved in a transparent manner. I know that there may be some confidentiality factors at play here, and we as members of the public may not have a right to know, but a paid consultant whose job is to fully and openly represent our elected representatives on the board and protect the integrity of that board as a whole body must also have the trust and confidence of the community that that board serves. I assume some of you are thinking that it's none of our business, none of our concern, that this is an internal issue. We're here to remind you that this district, these students, their families, these employees, and these elected officials are our business. This is our concern. And at some point, we hope and we expect a response. Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you for taking your time to call in. I would like to remember everybody in the room to leave your cameras on. We are trying to reenact what would happen in a real live in-person meeting. Please don't turn your cameras off. Okay, Mr. Favela, are there any more readers? No.
I still do not see Luis, Mr. Eugenio.
I see Luis has a hand raised.
It looks like he's back in the session. Let's
Okay.
try him again.
Okay,
Oh, there he is. Okay, good. Luis?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, can y'all hear me? Okay, sorry about that. I was having some technical difficulties with my mic and with Zoom. But here goes. Good evening, board. I'm here to speak on the matter concerning Mr. Shinoff and the article that was made public on March 2nd. As a concerned community member, and you as the board should also be concerned with the methods, criticism, motives, and effectiveness that the current legal counsel, Mr. Shinoff, has had and was made public in the article. The board should not want to be associated with a law firm that has been sued for malpractice, a lawyer who has been accused of being accountable to an individual and not the board as a whole, as well as his methods and motives that some of us community members have experienced firsthand, as noted by Leticia. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was under the impression that the legal counsel should maintain the board's integrity and be accountable to the board only. Therefore, this new board, a board comprised of members that are supported by the community, should have the right to seek new legal counsel, a duty and responsibility that they owe as public officials to our community and not an individual. I encourage you to consider the facts that were published in the article when voting on whether or not you should or need to hire a new counsel. Thank you.
thank you very much for taking the time to attend our meeting and to call in with your concerns. Mr. Favela?
Thank you for that, Luis. And that is it as far as comments for this section. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to board reports. I would like to start with the people who are zooming in. So, Mr. Favela, would you like to begin with your board report?
Sure. Again, quite a bit. It's great to see all that happens between meetings. There's a lot that happens in our school district. But one of the highlights had been visits to 4 schools. Had a chance to visit Live Oak Elementary, William H. Frazier, Mary Faye Pendleton, and the new school that's being built, and also San Onofre. It was a great experience, and really glad to get a lot of the background information of the new schools, especially on base. It's these are 2 schools I've never been able to see before, despite being a lifelong Fallbrook resident. So it was great, a great opportunity. Really helped our work sink in, right? It's great to see what our decisions, how they're being carried out, making an impact. So that was a great experience, and I'm looking forward to visiting our other schools as well.
Is that the end of your report?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I'd next like to call on Mrs. Lopez.
Yes, so I certainly champion Mr. Favela's words about visiting the schools. It was awesome to see some of our schools, particularly for me, since I'm new to Fallbrook, and so having to be able to get to see some of the schools in action was tremendous. I also was able to participate in Live Oak's Career Day. So I was able to present to two classrooms, a fourth grade class and a fifth grade class, on my previous career, which was recreation therapy. So that was kind of fun for me to go back in time and bring back a lot of that information to those young students. And they had such great questions at the end. It was just amazing to watch and see that they were actually paying attention and interested in some of the subjects. So that was nice. I also participated in the portrait of an eighth grader, the first session. So I was able to do that. And that was for me very enlightening. I know this was kind of a rehash of what had started before COVID last year and a half maybe ago. So they sort of repeated some of the information and brought us all up to speed. And then we got to break into smaller groups, and we had just a great group with everybody participating, especially a young eighth grade student from Potter. She really brought a lot of energy and really good insight to our group. The school visits, I was just blown away with the two new schools that are coming together, Mary Fay Pendleton and San Onofre. And to be able to see Mary Fay in its current situation, and then knowing what they're going to be able to move on to, it just impressed me so much. I think what the school district has done with the money that they received from the federal government and then the matching funds is just phenomenal. These students are going to have the best opportunity to learn in every single subject that they will study in. So I thought that was great. I also had a great opportunity to have another luncheon with our superintendent. I always enjoy that and finding out more insight for the future, where we're headed, what some of the goals are. So it was kind of a busy month.
Thank you. Thank you for your report. And next it will be Mrs. Libas.
So one of my big rocks this month was attending the meeting for the North County Consortium for Special Education, which the board appointed me as our representative. And because I didn't know much about it before I joined, I thought I would take a minute just to let you all know a little more about NICSE, which is our SELPA, our Special Education Local Planning Area, which is a state mandated organization. And the purpose is to bring all of our local school districts together to make sure that we're supported as we provide for our special needs students. And it's under the administration of the County Office of Education, which is responsible for seeing that every eligible child receives appropriate services. And I think it's a great concept where, different districts have different size districts and different amount of resources and different students with needs. And so as we come together, if we have a student that we can't serve in-house, we can look to the NICSE to find a proper placement for them. So they actually have their own staff. There's 100 people that they have working there supporting our district, all the other districts in NICSE. The Board of Trustees is comprised of one school board member from each district, which I'm the one from this one. The Board of Governors is comprised of the superintendent from each district, and then there's a cabinet committee comprised of the special education directors. So Mr. Leonard Rodriguez represents us there. And then they also have a community advisory committee, which is comprised of parents of students with disabilities and representatives from local agencies like the regional center. And they provide a lot of services to parents of special ed students, educational types of things, as well as independent dispute resolution. So if they have something going on with their district that can't be resolved, there's an outside agency that can deal with that. And then they also do a lot of PD for teachers. So I think it's just a great idea, and I'm sure we get a lot from that collaboration. I was also able to attend the California School Board Association Legislative Action Week, and that was really interesting because it was virtual this year. I got to participate. I wouldn't normally go to Sacramento for a week. So I was able to meet with California State Senator Brian Jones, Senator Pat Bates, and Assemblywoman Tasha Borner-Horvath, different meetings with each of those. And CSB gave us some talking points to focus on, and I chose to focus on broadband access, since that's been such a big equity issue in our district. And there's Assembly Bill 14 and a Senate Bill number 4, which would extend a fee that's on cell phone bills. It's already on there, and that would just extend it. That puts money into the California Advanced Services Fund, and that provides grants for increasing broadband access. So it'd be great if that could be continued, and we could, bridge the digital divide, because especially this year, we've seen how critical that is. I also was able to present at Career Day, and I agree with Ms. Lopez. It was really fun to have to go back through my photo albums and find pictures of my younger days and my first career, and be able to share those with the kids. So I don't know if they had as much fun as I did, but it was really good time. Portrait of the 8th grader is, I'm really excited to see, they're obviously taking us on a journey. Like they have a plan, and it's going to be interesting to see where all of this discussion gets distilled down into, things that we can actually use as goals for our district. I was able to do the Mary Fay and Santa Onofre visit, and I really appreciate the administrators there that took the time to show us around and answer all our questions. And lastly, just kind of a community point, Leila McDonald, the CEO of our Chamber of Commerce here, was awarded Marie Waldron's Woman of the Year. And I was at the Fallbrook Community Forum, and when someone congratulated her for it, and she said, I really want to dedicate this to all the women in our community who are leaders and make it what it is. And of course, I thought of my fellow women board members and our cabinet and all of the women leaders in our district that give so much to our community. So thank you very much. That's my report.
Very nice. Thank you for giving us that information on the NIXI. That was very helpful. Okay, and last but not least, we have Mrs. Lundeen.
Well, you're going to be last but not least. You can't escape.
That's true.
I wanted to thank Dr. Singh and our technical staff, Kirby Fell and Seth Trench. They've made some of the fun adjustments to our Zoom meeting today. You'll notice you can now see other participants on the call. It feels like a real live meeting. And you now have the option, should you choose, of speaking before an agenda item if you're calling in to talk about that specifically. So thanks to our technical team for making that possible. I also participated in Portrait of an 8th grader. I know now, because I can see some of the participants, some of them weren't on our Portrait of an 8th grader call. So I thought I'd just take a second to tell them what that is about. It's a district-led initiative and I hope I get this right, that's bringing teachers, site administrators, school staff, parents, students, and community leaders together to explore the topic of what characteristics we hope 8th graders will have as they graduate from our district and as they really begin their journey to meet the challenges of the 21st century workforce. And life in the 21st century, not just work, but life. And I think that that's an important process. I know there are a lot of layers of that, all the way from foundational reading and writing and math, all the way up to personal characteristics like persistence and empathy. So I know some of the folks at our meeting today are also part of the group, and it's been a real pleasure to be part of it and hear what all of you have had to say as well. I was also at school visits actually because Mr. Favela and Mrs. Lopez and I are the new board members. We got to go to 2 other schools as well. And I wanted to thank Dr. Singh and those site administrators. We went to Live Oak and to Fraser, had a chance to see the physical plant and kind of get a sense of what each of those schools are like. And it was such a different experience going to Pendleton and seeing those 2 showcase schools and just the incredible work that staff is doing there as well. So it's been a great month in terms of having that opportunity. And that is my report.
Very nice. And you've covered everything I wanted to cover, but I will say the portrait of an eighth grader, I hope it continues to be as interesting and as well attended. I believe we had 113 people in the room, which is phenomenal. In fact, I've been sending more ideas of more people I would like, and they're saying, nope, I think we're at it. We're at our max, but I would love all of the teachers of the years to be there. And of course, these ideas come to me too late, but it's a wonderful opportunity to give input as to what each of us want to see in an eighth grader. And I just think it's a very fabulous idea. And I'm so happy we are having this dialogue. And there's 3 additional 2-hour meetings that will be occurring in the next 3 months. And then I must say, San Onofre and Mary Fay, I teach at a community college, and these schools are unbelievable. They are so superior to the community colleges I teach at. I mean, you know, if you think about it, most infrastructure has to do with flying a bond and getting the funding. And, you know, sometimes I remember when Mr. Choate was here, and I think it took 3 times to get the bond through, and we had to keep whittling it down and whittling it down. And these schools, they kind of, I mean, you had to go out and raise, I know, an additional 20%, which is unbelievable that you were able to do that, but it's being done with no bond money. And, you know, the federal government understands the importance when your parents are deployed. You want your kids to be going to a killer school with real infrastructure that supports them. And it does all of that. They're spectacular. And as Mrs. Levis and I know, Palomar had a wonderful bond passed, and they were going to do a school off-site here close to Fallbrook called Fallbrook Educational Center, and they just don't have enough money to do all the things that they want to do. So, you know, when you see what you're up against when you're doing a bond, and also San Diego Community College District ran 2 bonds, and we did do some fabulous upgrades, but to have, you know, you still got the old with the new. These are brand new schools, and you rarely see that, rarely. It's spectacular. I cannot say enough. And unfortunately, many people will never get by to see them. So this, you'll just have to take our word for it. Thank you very much for all of you giving us your reports, and we will conclude our report and move to our superintendent.
Thank you, Mrs. Lever. Thank you. I want to just begin by, first of all, thank you for all the, really, I love just the acknowledgement of all the work that's going, that our staff is putting in, and having you have our new board members have the opportunity to be at our schools is really wonderful. And we're going to continue that process, as you know, as we move forward. You know, the other thing, rather than being repetitive, thank you. Last thing I wanted to mention, we had over 115 or so people on the call for Portrait of an Eighth Grader. That's just a beautiful opportunity to have so many voices coming together to talk about our dreams and hopes and aspirations for our students. So thank you for mentioning that. That process, as you know, is going to continue, and we're looking forward to it. But I also lastly would just like to mention and acknowledge our staff, our teachers, our support staff, and our school leaders. As you know, since the last time we had a board meeting, we have every student in our district, other than the parents who have chosen to, you know, finish out the year in virtual instruction, back 5 days a week in our schools. And I think, you know, the fact that we're not talking about COVID and PPE and all the things that we've been talking about for a year really is illustrative of the fact that I think this district has made this look simple, and it certainly is far from it. Our kids are all in school 5 days a week, and we're not even talking about COVID so far in a meeting. And I think that really just, I want to go back and mention, as you watch and observe some of the real challenges and hardships that communities are going through now, to advocate for kids to come back to school, to be talking about and worried about everyone's safety. We are quietly open 5 days a week with all of our kids back in school. And that is just a testament to the leadership, our leaders here at the district office, and the ways that they've supported our schools, our site administrators, our teachers, our bus drivers, our custodians, our CNS department. It's been a phenomenal effort. And I think when everyone makes it look easy, people think it is, and it's far from it. So my heart is just so grateful to the people here who have brought our kids back 5 days a week. And I know you all feel the same. We have so many things that we're so excited and proud of that I do want to make sure that we mention that as we're watching other districts struggle, we're happily back and have our kids back. And they're making phenomenal progress already being back at school, which is where we know they should be. So Mrs. Lieber, that's all I have. Thank you for.
I do want to comment briefly, and because I'm the president, I get to say something
right.
again. And of course, all of you can too, but I do want to thank you. I'm sorry, we kind of all left out that you've made it look easy. Not only that, being a first adopter, we have some killer new teachers that there might be teacher shortages at other schools as they slowly roll their programs out. So there's just
So
multiple layers that have been, and this district being fairly small hasn't gotten the press it really deserves for what a wonderful job rolling out fully back.
That's right.
It's just unbelievable,
It
really.
is. Thank
So
you.
I'm sorry that we
Oh, no.
don't have national recognition
Yeah.
for the wonderful job, but
Quietly doing our work, right?
Thank
So thank you for that. Thank you.
So we will conclude the community relations portion and we'll move to presentations. We're so lucky to have Fallbrook STEM Academy here with us, and they will be making a presentation for all of us. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, board members and cabinet. My name is Joe Nicely, and I'm very proud to be the principal of Fallbrook STEM Academy. I'd like to introduce people I'm here with.
Good evening, board members. My name is Monica Enriquez. I'm the assistant principal at Fallbrook STEM Academy.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Estacion, and I'm a sixth grade teacher at Fallbrook STEM Academy.
Right, so there we go. So I thought I would start off with just giving a brief history of Fallbrook STEM Academy. I know we have new board members, and this is our 4th year as being a Fallbrook STEM Academy. The bulk of our presentation though is going to be on our English language arts and science integration, along with our project-based learning. So again, this is a little history. This is what we were doing last year at Fallbrook STEM Academy. Each grade level has created 4 integrated language arts and science units that are taught all year long. And they incorporate project-based learning throughout those units. We decided as a staff that teaching science all year long was something very important to us, and that's what we wanted to do, and that's what we wanted to do as a STEM Academy. And we have been refining these units and developing them and creating them for the past 3 years. And project-based learning is something that's part of those units. And we really define that as students being actively exploring scientific phenomenon in really hands-on ways, and having a hands-on approach to that. Also, students are applying the learning that they're receiving within science to their projects. So as they're learning concepts, they're then putting them to use and building and then creating. We also had innovation days. So at the end of each of these units, we had 4 units throughout the year. And at the end of each of the units, we invited parents and community members to hear from the students and to see the projects and to talk to them. And this allowed students to have an authentic audience. They knew someone was going to come and hear from them and hear about their projects. They got to, refine and hone their communication skills and their written communication, and their leadership as well as they presented to community members. And then, and then last year we had what we called collaboration days, where every grade level got to come to our school and see one of these integrated units. So, for example, these are our 3rd grade teachers, and all the 3rd grade teachers within the district came to our school. They got to see what the students presented. They got to hear from the students, and then they worked with our teachers on learning about our model for integration, and then they got to apply that for a unit that they wanted to bring back to their school. And then Monica's going to talk a little bit about that. She was a TOSA last year, so she got to see it from a different perspective. So
I did. I was fortunate enough to attend several of the collaboration days, and I just have to say I was so impressed by every single one of them. The language they used as the students were demonstrating their projects. I just remember one situation in particular. There was a little boy, he must have been in kinder or first, I'm not sure. And all of the other students were talking to everyone and explaining everything. And this little boy was sitting by himself. And I thought to myself, oh, he doesn't really understand what he did, you know? So I went to go talk to him, and actually he was so, he spoke so beautifully, and he was able to use all the academic language and explain the process. And he even said something along the lines of, oh, I try to build my project, and through trial and error, I it just totally blew me away. And I found out, oh, it's not that he doesn't know, he's just a little bit shy. And that's perfectly okay. He just felt more comfortable sharing in a one-on-one setting. And it was just a wonderful experience. And also it was great going back to the district office and really working with all the different grade levels and the different schools to help them create these integrated units. You know, some teachers chose social studies with language arts, and it was just very well done. And I was very grateful to be a part of it. So when I heard I was going to Fallbrook STEM Academy this year, I was really thrilled. You know, it was a great experience last year.
the other thing we did, Fallbrook STEM Academy, is we had coding and robotics for every student. We wanted everyone to have that opportunity, kinder through sixth grade. We realized that coding is a language we wanted the students to know and learn. And so we have a program for K1 using the little B-bots, second and fourth use the dashes, and then our upper grade students using the Lego storms actually, or build the robots and do the coding and program them on the computer there. And they do this during their library media times when they're doing that. So every week they're getting coding and robotics. And then finally, Bobcat Block, which was just an opportunity. It was 1 hour a week for students to really explore areas of interest, passion projects. We invited community members. Some members from our district office came. There's Johnny from Tech, and he was doing 3D printing, doing a 3D printing with students. We often use this time to have buddy classes where upper grade students would work with primary students. We had kids building robots. We had a drone flying club, a chorus club, a forensic club, and a parent who taught students Spanish, also those who were interested in learning Spanish. So now, on to what we're also talking about tonight is our language arts and science integrated project-based learning. And this is one of our main goals at Fallbrook STEM Academy. And although COVID has kind of altered how we do project-based learning, it hasn't changed our focus. So why are we integrating science and project-based learning? Research really shows, this is an article from Ed Trust, research shows that when science is used as the content and project-based learning are used as a lever for language development, the result is what I hope we see in our classrooms, which is a vibrant learning environment that motivates students to engage in practicing the spoken language, written communication, and meaningful cognitive tasks. And that's what we're seeing in our classrooms as a result. Another article here, programs that emphasize challenges cause learners to apply higher order thinking and learn collaboratively. This comes from John Hattie's research, and we see this all the time. I mean, when students are building and creating, they know right away whether their project is working or not. They have that specific immediate feedback. They don't need a teacher to tell them that it didn't quite work. They can tell right away. And they really are communicating and collaborating at a higher level. I remember in Mrs. Estacion's class, I went in there one time and two students were having a little mini debate on whether something was a virus or a bacteria, and they were using academic vocabulary and really having such a strong academic conversation around the scientific content. Also aligns with our first LCAP goal, implementing a broad course of study that meets students' needs and interests and prepares them for college and career. Every unit that we have, we intentionally look for a STEM career or a career that's related to that field that involves science, technology, engineering, or math, which is pretty much every career out there. Also, our blueprint for success. I saw this linked in a lot of different places, but goal 4 with that really personalized learning, giving students experiences that are motivating and engaging and, giving them choice. And a lot of the projects that we do and we were doing last year really are student choice. We have certain criteria that they have to meet, but they get to decide how they want to build a project that demonstrates the learning that they've been learning. And then I know you guys have mentioned the portrait of an 8th grader and some of those landscape shifts that were talked about in that meeting, preparing students to effectively use advanced technology and helping them to prioritize all the information that they're getting and effectively use disagreements as an opportunity for progress. And when we have science as that content, we see that with students. They have to debate a little bit on what they think is going to work best, and they have those effective conversations. And then finally, it aligns with our mission statement. When we came together and decided what we want Fallbrook STEM Academy to be, what was our mission? It was to energize teaching and learning and make it exciting and fun for kids. But why are we doing that? To equip every child with the skills and knowledge needed to create exciting futures. And we believe project-based learning with science as the content does just that. Now we'll hear from some of our students. So this is a young man, 3rd grader. Why focus on engineering and building and creating?
A school where you could engineer and build stuff and also learn and when you're trying to build something that doesn't exist or you want to build something new, you have to search and learn more, and you need to search up parts from other animals and then you can put them all together and then you can make an imaginary animal.
So that was one of their projects. They had to, learn about adaptations from different animals, take all that, synthesize it together, and create a whole new animal and their environment and their prey and their predators and all that. And this is a student. Why focusing on engineering? Sorry. Yeah, the benefits of kind of having an authentic audience. So, he's going to talk about these projects to people.
Understand it more than normally, because normally you're just hearing it and then you get it, but then normally you just forget it. But if you actually have to tell it to someone, you have to remember it in order to do that.
That's great.
Pretty powerful there. I mean, to the point. And then the benefits of project-based learning.
Learn it deeper because you actually see it in action and in motion rather than seeing it on paper and just seeing it in one area. Because in the real world, it's a lot different than on paper.
And then this student,
My name is Josue. I'm in 5th grade, and today I'm going to explain how chameleon feet work. So this is a model of a chameleon's feet, and it helps it grip onto trees and plants. So it moves like this. It opens and closes, and it goes up and down, and this moves and opens. It could also rotate.
yeah. So, I just gotta say that's his second project. So he did one on forces that I was so impressed by. I took some pictures. When I knew I was going to do this presentation, I said, hey, well, Sway, do you have that project? I would love to record you, and I want to hear you talk about it. It's like, yeah, okay. And then a few weeks, pass, and maybe he doesn't have it anymore. And I said, do you have that project? And he said, I'm going to bring something else for you. And I said, okay. He brings this, which not only uses forces, but it also is part of his adaptation unit. And I believe me, I talked to him for a long time, and I really kind of drilled him on how much of this did you do with your parents, and the hydraulics, and when did you learn this, and how did you, and this was him. His parents like drilled a couple holes and used the glue gun for him. His dad works with animals, and he uses those syringes to inject vitamins into their mouths. But he realized that when you push on the syringe, something comes out. So he thought if something comes out, then it can be used to push something else. And he created that. I mean, it's really
How old is he?
He's a third grader.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, he's gonna be. You're gonna hear about him.
Wow,
Hi, my name.
that's incredible.
Okay, and then we have Mrs. Estacion here, and she's gonna talk, from a teacher's perspective on some of the benefits of project-based learning that she's noticed.
So I was at Fallbrook STEM Academy before it became Fallbrook STEM Academy, and when I found out we were becoming a STEM school, I was just ecstatic because I love science. It's my passion. So I was really excited. As a teacher learning about project-based learning, it has been challenging. It's been frustrating. It's been exciting. It's been all of the above. It's been a great trial and error for us teachers as well, but I do see the benefits of it in the classroom. Providing students with hands-on learning just makes all the difference. It then goes to their brain. It provides tangible learning. It hits all of the senses. They get to plan, they get to manipulate and build, and most of all, it really promotes student engagement. They get really excited when they get to create a project. They learn by making mistakes, and they learn that it's okay to make mistakes, and that they actually get better and learn from it. And I just believe that it provides a better understanding of the content. When they actually are working hands-on and doing the research and the work themselves. And talking about the authentic audience, especially with the innovation days, they get so excited and they get so nervous, like I am right now. But it gives them what realizes a purpose that they will be presenting to someone. And when they also encounter real world problems, real jobs that they see that it connects to, they do realize that there is a purpose for what they're doing, and they take ownership in their learning and in their work. It also really is relevant and the individualized learning, like Mr. Nicely said about student choice. We do give them criteria, but there is a lot of freedom and choice in many of the projects that they do in the classrooms. And it also is a great experience for all of our learners. So most of the time, these projects, they're group projects. And when you have students at all levels, it really provides an opportunity for those students to shine in an area that they may not have before, or it gives them an opportunity to be involved and be actively participating in it, because there's so many different jobs and roles and tasks. And I have seen personally so many students just rise to the occasion. My students built windmills. Was that last year? It was the coolest, most frustrating project I probably have ever done. But I had one student in particular who really struggled academically, emotionally, and he was like in his element. It was just his world. He was so determined to make it work. And so that was it for a teacher, very exciting for me to see. The creativity, collaboration, all of the 4 C's. It also promotes a lot of discussion. They have to plan together, they have to learn together, they have to divide up and assign roles together. And that really helps all of our students, in particular our English language learners. It gives them opportunity to speak and talk and be a part of discussions and really use the academic vocabulary and language so that they are understanding what it actually means and they're not just repeating words. They can put it to what they're doing and they can explain it. They also learn to argue in a professional way. They learn to respect other people's opinions and views. And so that's really important as well. I love it. It's just, I've had a blast the past 4 years. I've been able to work with my peers in creating our integrated science and ELA lessons. And every year we work on refining those and keep growing and learning as teachers and seeing what works and what doesn't work. So as a teacher, I've enjoyed it tremendously. So I guess next we have one of my students, Paulina Garcia, who is amazing and in all ways. I just watched her.
And well, I guess she describes the book.
Oh, yes.
I am Paulina Garcia, and I am going to talk about this book that me and my classmates read about 2020. It was really fun, and we all made our own drawings and told stories about how 2020 was for us. Everyone is super special, and it was really fun to make it because, well, you can look back on it and show it to your family, to your friends, and I made this cover, and I'm really, really proud of it. And I'm proud of the whole class because they all gave it their best. And I think it's better than just making a paper and turning it in, because you get to make it into something special and really sweet and that's
Beautiful. So I apologize, I kind of skipped over my last little bullet point here. I ordered these book kits over the summer and I didn't really know what I was going to do with them. I just thought they were cool. So when we finally came back to hybrid in October, it happens to be our unit on bacteria and viruses. So while I hate the pandemic, which I couldn't have had better timing.
How convenient.
But I based it on the I Survived book series. And so I showed them a little clip of that. Most of them have read those books themselves. So I just wanted them to write about their personal experiences and thoughts and feelings as they had to close down on March 13th on the last day of school. A lot of my sixth graders, they were on a field trip in Duluth, and they remember vividly coming back and finding out we were closing for what we thought was 2 weeks. So when we came back in October, it had been about 7 months since they were in person at all. So some of the students chose to write in a journal type way and put, March 13th was my last day, now I'm back. They wrote about their families, what was going on in the world. It was really up to them to write about whatever they felt they wanted to. And they did artwork to go along with it. And I sent in the book and I was excited because I wasn't expecting it back before Christmas break. And we got it back just before Christmas break. So it was a wonderful Christmas present. And they were very excited and very proud. And I'm very proud of them as well. It turned out amazing.
So thank you. And we have a copy of the book for each of you. So we brought those for you. So yeah, so thank you so much. As you can tell, we're really proud of our school, and on behalf of all the staff and students, we just thank you for this opportunity to share a little bit about our school.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful presentation. So concise and so informative. So if you want to stay, that's great. If you want to sneak out, you can. We do have a presentation now on our 2021 summer school program.
Awesome. So we're just going to do a little switch real quickly here.
Yeah.
So they're going to leave and our new team is going to come in. Who's going to help us
Okay.
present. So if you'll give us just a couple seconds. For sure.
Thank you again for coming. It was wonderful. We can't wait to see the books.
They're right here for you.
Yes, they were on, as there's one camera there and all three people could be seen at the same time. If you scroll to the right, see that little blue arrow?
Everybody, welcome. And they're presenting too. You can't see all titles at once. Yeah, you can't, you have to scroll through when there's when someone's presenting. Wonderful, wonderful. Just trying to be Van.
Ladies, this little camera right in the middle is what you're speaking into.
You're all on this camera.
Good evening, members of the governing board, Dr. Singh, members of cabinet, and our esteemed presenters back there, and all of our audience out in virtual land. I just want to thank you for allowing us to come and share with you what we're really proud of, the summer learning opportunities that we're in the process of developing. I'm going to be sharing tonight a little bit about the what all we've done up to this point, and then also allowing our summer school principals to share with you what they're planning as they are beginning to hire their teachers and beginning to look at sending invitations out to our students. So as Dr. Singh said earlier, sometimes we make things look really simple and we just kind of come to you and present and say, yeah, here's what we're doing. But I want you to know that we have spent many weeks and months actually planning for our summer learning opportunities. We have held numerous meetings with our staff. We have a great team that's been planning this, similar to every phase of our reopening that we've done. We bring together teachers from across the district in every grade level. Our principals are there, and we provide them with the research that helps them make really good decisions. And this was no different. The research that we really looked at, you heard Mr. Knisley reference John Hattie's research, and we looked at a lot of John Hattie's research. We also looked at the Hanover Research Company, who has compiled best practices for summer programming, as well as our California Department of Education. So we share that with our teachers and we talk about what all that might look like and how that might then be applicable in our classrooms as we move forward. We also then have been working with our principals in terms of getting them up to speed so that they can then begin to plan, because we want some consistency across all of the programs, but each one's pretty unique as well. So we want to make sure that they're collaborating. And then of course, they're in the process of getting ready to plan their professional development that they will give to their teachers as they begin to hire them on. And a special shout out here to our TOSAs who have been working with our summer school principals to help them with that. And to this incredible team of teachers that worked with us, because they were very thoughtful and took this task very serious. And we've had a lot of committee meetings this year, but they were just as excited about this one as any of our other ones. One of the things that came through loud and clear as we did all of our research was that we really needed a mind shift. That if we in fact just focused on learning loss, we heard so much about learning loss mitigation funds that were coming to us. And if we continue to use that language and focus on learning loss, then we're going to walk down this familiar road, one paved with repetitive remediation and disengaged students. And we did not want that. And so this became the foundation for everything that we began to plan. That yes, we need to fill these gaps. That's why we're coming. And we need to know what those gaps are for our students. But if they don't want to be there, and if they're not engaged, and if they're not seeing that they have some power and some control over where they're going, it's not going to be a successful experience for them. And the research certainly supported that. So let me just share a little bit of that research with you. So you heard Mr. Knisley reference John Hattie. Most educators reference John Hattie. His research is quite profound and extensive. But one of the things that he's really known for is that he has spent years compiling data and looking at a mega analysis of data on what are the things that teachers or schools or organizations do that really have a positive effect on student learning. And he kind of breaks it into that the typical things that people do is about a 0.4 effect on a scale moving across. We want to look at the things that are larger than 0.4 size effect and focus our attention on those. And then we want to say, are our practices that we're doing that fall below that 0.4, that one might suggest aren't really effective at all, is that where we want to be spending our attention? So we spent some time looking at exactly those things. We're going to start with the positive effect sizes. And some of his language is a little difficult to understand. So let me just take a couple seconds to explain that to you. So one of the things that is, as you could imagine, the most positive effect for student achievement, gaining student achievement, is a quality teacher in the classroom and the decisions that that quality teacher makes. And one of the decisions that is most important, according to all of his mega analysis, is does the teacher believe that he or she is making a difference? Does the teacher believe that I have the tools to do my job? Does the teacher believe that I have the environment in which is conducive to my students' learning? And those two things together have a very high positive effect on student achievement or increasing student achievement. Another one is the teacher estimates of achievement. Does a teacher have high expectations for their students? And do they believe they can achieve them? Because the children will raise to whatever bar we get for them. And if teachers make excuses for our children, as opposed to saying, these are the challenges and how can I support that, that will affect their achievement. And then the last one, which is actually new on his list in the last few years, and it actually rises to the very top of the list according to all of his new research. And it's something that we've been doing here in Fallbrook for a very long time. And that's this concept that students self-assess themselves before beginning a task or an assessment or a project. And then they set a goal around their self-assessment. So let me give you an example. They're getting ready to do a project and the teacher might ask them, well, how do you think you're going to do on this project? If you're doing grades, what grade do you think you might get? If you're doing a rubric, what score do you think you might get? And the student then self-assesses. So maybe they say, oh, I think I can get a B on this. Oh, okay, well, tell me what you're going to do to get that B. And what his research has shown is not only do they get the B, but when they've taken the time then to talk about this, of course, they overachieve from where they even believed they were going to. But it's that upfront conversation. So we want to be incorporating that into our summer programming. We do that now with our Leader and Me and our notebooks and so much goal settings and personalized learning. But we can be very intentional about it as we move forward, and we will. And then there are some things that have a negative effect size that actually don't increase achievement and in some ways can actually alter that achievement in a negative way. One of them is retention. We all think that retention they might catch up, but the long-term studies on retention are really, they don't. And in fact, they fall further behind. A lot of the social emotional reasons might be behind that, but retention is a very negative effect size. Suspension, which would make sense. They're not coming to school and they're not liking school and they're being punished in some way. That's probably not going to have a real positive effect for them. Why we spend so much time with our positive intervention plans and determining what are some other alternatives that we can put in place before it gets to that place. Homework is another one, and summer school. It doesn't mean we shouldn't give homework, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't do summer school, but his research is very profound on it's what you do during those times that makes a difference. Just assigning homework isn't going to increase achievement. Just sending kids to summer school isn't going to increase achievement. But the types of homework that you assign, are they personal to that student? We know kindergarten through 5th or 6th grade, reading is the most important homework that you can give either to your child or having them read. Other than that, probably not going to have a real positive effect on their achievement. And then summer school, which is of course what brings us tonight, was talking the research really about, it's not just about drill and kill. It's not just about saying this is where you're not good at and I'm going to make you better. It really is about creating an environment in which they feel they have some power and some control over their learning and in which they feel successful. So this was what then we used to plan our summer school program. So in summary, the team decided that these were the 4 pillars that we would focus on as we planned our program. It's not just about academics, and we know that, especially with our children coming back right now. It's also that they need some social and emotional support. And we have counselors at our summer schools this year that we're very happy that they'll be supporting our program as well. That children actively construct knowledge. Again, just not that drill and kill, fill in the bubble, but that they're actively engaged in their learning. That it's and I love this one, that their learning is enhanced by physical activity, joy, and opportunities for self-expression. And then lastly, that they're forming positive relationships with each other, as well as with their teachers. And one of the things that we're doing at Fallbrook STEM Academy this year is they're going to be actually a large number of their teachers will be teaching summer school. And we're going to try to place children who will be in their classrooms next year in their summer school program so they can begin to create those summer school, those social emotional connections with their teacher now. So just as an overview, we've ended up with three options for our summer school program that you're going to hear about tonight. One is the migrant program, which we've offered in the past, and some of you have had an opportunity to see if you've been in our summer programs or had any of our board reports. Special education summer school, which we call extended school year, which we've always offered as well and is required. And then we have Summer Bridge, which is the new program that we've been developing, and we'll be sharing a little bit about that. You'll notice that each of these programs, we tried to space them out over the summer as best as we could so that our custodial staff can have time on each of our campuses, but also because we really wanted our Summer Bridge program to have the most teachers possible. And if they're teaching in migrant, they can't teach in Summer Bridge. And if they're committed to ESY, they can't teach in Summer Bridge. So we wanted Summer Bridge to be by itself during terms of the calendar. So I won't read these to you, but I'll let you just kind of look at some of the common elements that we will have with each of our programs. They certainly will address the essential standards that we want, and each grade level identified those in our planning committees. We can't teach everything, but we can have some ones that we know are critical for next year. All of our schools are going to be working on some type of an integrated unit within their program using defined STEM, defined learning that you all have purchased for us this last year. We're going to be incorporating that in. Small class sizes, we're going to really try and keep them under 15 students. And there was a criteria for each one of the programs that each of our principals will talk about. And then transportation is needed. So our special education, we've always had transportation for them in the summer, but we're working with Cindy Martin, Mrs. Martin and her staff to look at how can we provide transportation in the summer for students who may need that. We don't want that to be a reason that they don't come to our program. I will share though that we're trying to reduce the number of students who will need transportation. So that, for example, that because we're offering Summer Bridge at different schools, we can get them to the school that's closest to their school as opposed to one that maybe is across town. That would require less transportation. We'll use the same criteria that we use during the school year. I believe it's 1.5 miles. So if a child is 1.5 miles away from the school, then we would offer transportation for them. And once we know who those students are that need transportation, then our transportation department will work their magic to figure out what that might look like, because it's very different than the school year. So with that, I am going to allow each of our principals to talk a little bit about their program. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Curcio for our migrant summer program.
So thank you all for having us. Migrant is a little bit different just because it is a program that we offer each summer. It is a part of the agreement of service that we do with the region to offer it. What will make our program unique in the future is that we offer migrant summer school. We actually offer it to every qualified migrant student in the district. This summer, we're expanding to 22 classrooms rather than 15. And our hope is to serve up to 330 students. And it is TK through 8th grade. And we expect to have class sizes between 11 and 15. So we're very excited about that. And to address some of the transportation issues, our invitation will include, if they aren't able to attend because of transportation, we're looking into partnering with the Boys and Girls Club and potentially getting a bus out to Duluth. But in the past, migrant education has not had transportation as a part of our program here, so have self-transported, but we will also offer a distance learning option for parents that, if however that works out. So we're excited about our program. And this summer, we're not going with the space theme because we did that last summer, which was great and fun. My colleagues here are going to make that theme even better. But we're actually going to focus on integration of culture and art, history, social science. And because language development at ORC is so important with this population of students, and we just wanted an opportunity to try something new and to kind of build some cultural pride while we're together. It's that having that effectiveness and students wanting to learn and be excited about that. It is supplemental on top of our other programs. There is a reason it comes first. One is we need to finish this portion of our summer program by the end of the fiscal year, but also because our students in migrant education, it is a supplement on top of not just district programs, but also any categorical district programs that are offered. So our migrant education students have the opportunity to go. And then if they have special education needs, they can attend ESY and still come on Fridays because we are a Monday through Friday program. And later, if they qualify for summer bridge, then they can also attend that in July. So it really works out beautifully to have them all spread out the way they are. And for us, we're going to be studying famous people. And it's going to, and really, while we have that academic core focus, which is a requirement of the program, we're really going to try to do that by providing some educational experiences that are very relevant in our world. We're going to be dancing, and it's all that integration strategies. Yes, we will learn the ELA and the math, but we're going to do it in a way that just supports our students and builds pride. So that's just a little bit of a summary. And I use the word oral because oracy is often something that people aren't really aware of, but it's that theater part, that listening and speaking, that being able to present.
Thank you, Dr. Curcio. Ms. Goodman.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Michelle Goodman. I'm happy to say this is my 5th year here at Fallbrook. Just a little bit about me, since this is my first time presenting to the board. This is my 4th year as the ESY principal, as well as I was 4 years at Santa Margarita Leadership Academy, the opportunity program teacher over there. And then I'm happy to say this is my first year as the assistant principal. So thank you again for having me. I love this program. Obviously, this is my 4th year with the opportunity to be the principal. Basically, ESY is determined, or invitation to that is determined by the IEP team. So it is something that we provide to our students to continue to work on their individualized goals and objectives. We have over 200 students currently, and we are continuing to get RSVPs up until our start date of June 14th. ESY continues to do pre-teaching for the upcoming year because we make sure that our students are hopefully with the teacher that they'll be with in the next year. So we try to, if I'm going into 3rd grade, try and match them up with their 3rd grade teacher if possible. We also are a district-wide program, so we're offering 4 different campuses from TK all the way up till 9th grade. So we keep our exiting 8th graders before they go off into high school. We are pre-teaching skills for the upcoming years so that the interruption instruction doesn't reduce their learning. So by taking extended breaks, that could possibly lower their achievement, which would then just continue to offer some, struggles and whatnot in the future. So we continue to offer that wraparound ongoing. It'll be 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday, and we have about 15 students per class. The students, for the staff side, we have 23 special ed teachers who are highly qualified. Most of them have been with me for at least 4 years, so I'm happy to say that I've had an opportunity to work with all of the teachers, most of them. And they, again, also like to work at their sites. So lots of the teachers are at their home schools, so they also are building that relationship with those students and those families. We have 3 clerks, 3 health techs, 80 special ed program assistants, 1 OT, speech, bilingual speech and language tech, 2 speech therapists, and AP, and then I also forgot to put on that we also have a site. So we offer all of the services that they would get during their normal school year. We continue to keep them in our family and keep them in our fold so that we can keep them ready and prepared for the future when they start in the fall. I'm very happy to be here. And we also offer transportation so that as well.
Thank you, Ms. Goodman. Awesome. Ms. Arias.
Yes, so good evening, Cabinet, members of the governing board. My name is Ana Arias. I'm currently the assistant principal at Fraser, and I will oversee the summer bridge program in K-5. So Mr. Nisley and I have been also collaborating because, as Mrs. Brown mentioned, they will also be doing summer bridge. And we will continue to collaborate to prepare for summer bridge. So July is going to be an awesome month. We are really planning this fabulous accelerated learning in July. As it's been said, our theme, our liftoff summer 2021 theme. And the dates for summer bridge will be July 12th through July 30th. The sites the summer bridge will take place at are FSA, La Paloma, and Mayales. However, students from all schools who meet the criteria will be invited. So although it's housed at these 3 schools, anyone who meets the criteria will be invited to participate in summer bridge. The criteria was developed based on teacher input, and the criteria is based on student need in ELA, in math, and teacher recommendation. We will take all of those things into account when inviting students. We will use spring assessment data to determine the students with the greatest needs. And these are the ones that will be invited to all of our summer bridge programs. Summer Bridge will invite exiting kindergartners all the way through exiting fifth graders at these 3 sites. And of course, this actually goes on about exiting kinder through exiting fifth for us. And we will also have a language academy classes. So language academy is a class offered to our newcomers in the district, which are our students who are new to the country. So we will also provide language academy for our students at Summer Bridge. We're going to really focus on SEL, social emotional learning, core academics, PE, and art. We're very lucky that our counselors will be supporting us with that SEL component. So we do have counselors that will be working Summer Bridge, which is really fantastic for our students. Our teachers will be able to access that learning and will be able to dive into that project-based learning, which is really a great thing for students. It's a lot of fun, it's exciting, it's engaging, it's great for kids. And of course, as Mrs. Novi mentioned, we are really using our TOSAs as a great resource to help provide some support for our Summer Bridge teachers with us. Very excited about that. We are also going to embed PE and art. Now, we've learned from the research that as a response to emotional and health pressures, our students really need to go outside. They need to play, and they just need to have fun with it. So that is definitely one of the things that we really want to implement during Summer Bridge for all of our kids. We're very excited. We will potentially have 600. We could have, based on the numbers, the space, the number of teachers that will be working for us, and that's still including the small class size. So potentially close to 600 students, approximately 40 teachers, including counselors. That's all of us. Great group. That's a lot of students that we will be helping and supporting, which is awesome. Our invitations will be sent the week of May 18th, which of course gives us plenty of time to make sure that we finalize everything, because although the invitations will be sent home at the end of May when kids are still in school, we really will not start again until mid-July, last 2 weeks of July. So we are so excited to be able to offer this Summer Bridge program to so many kids. And we have so many amazing teachers who have stepped up and are willing to teach this program.
Thank you for having me this evening. I'm Adrienne Ashford. I'm assistant principal at Potter Junior High School. I am coordinating our summer launch into Summer Bridge. Our theme is also focused around the space theme for incoming 7th and 8th grade students. Specifically, it's launch into learning. And so the criteria was developed by input from our curriculum committee, and students will be invited based on ELA and math needs. And so our, as well as teacher recommendation. As well. So we're planning for a program that consists of 10 teachers, aka my space mission specialist, with 10 classrooms, 15 students per classroom for a total of 150. I call them space explorers. So those are our students. And in addition to a counselor, which is our space flight support staff, and other support staff that we have on campus. We have 3 components to our program. The first one is the SEL, social and emotional learning. That is focused on developing those coping skills for understanding and managing students' emotions, adapting to new social norms, and establish and maintain positive relationships as a neighbor for these new COVID social norms. And the second part of our program is for academics. Is standards aligned to both ELA and FAP, incorporates defined learning and project-based learning opportunities, and focused on strengthening critical thinking skills and then building those research skills as well. The third component is PE and STEAM. STEAM is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And so we really want to expose students to that this summer through robotics, coding, arts, intro to yearbook, where they also focus on some journalism, and just get them acclimated with the traditional electives that we usually have required that we didn't have this year. And PE will be integrated into the classroom as well. And so just going outside through circuits and games and just things that make going out in the sun a little fun. And so we're super excited about this program and just the opportunity to bridge that time into junior high, which is so important for them. Just to get acclimated with their school side, and they're gonna see teachers that they may have the next school year, meet me, meet the other administration, and just for them to have that confidence and walk on campus that they already know what to expect. There's no better feeling than that. So we're super excited.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and giving us this fabulous presentation. Mrs. Norby, do you have a wrap up or?
I just want to extend my gratitude again to the curriculum teams and for all of their input, to our TOSAs for supporting our teams and our principals, to our presenters who did a fabulous job and who have, you know, it's a long time till summer school and they still have a real job right now, and yet they're planning summer school. So it's an added task on their plate. So I appreciate all that you've done to prepare, not just for tonight, but for our summer programs that are just going to be so wonderful and so exciting. And we will continue to plan. We're not done, obviously. So thank you to our board for all of your support in allowing us to do these summer programs and extend our learning opportunities for our students.
Wonderful. Any questions from the board?
Can I go?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That's what we want.
That's
That's
exactly.
exactly what we were trying to accomplish. So thank you.
I think all of us would want to be there. I do have a couple of questions. Are we having any problems recruiting teachers?
No, we did not. We actually were really fortunate. I think our teachers are committed to wanting to come and do the very best that we can for our students. And we had kind of set what we thought we would need, and that's exactly how many we had. And we do have some substitutes and some temporary teachers who are available to us if for some reason we need to supplement that. But we did not, we pay very well for our summer school teachers, and I think they're excited about this program also, and they know they're getting some good support. So
Perfect, thank you. And then Dr. Curcio, I think it's wonderful that you're doing different curriculum because there is that possibility they can move through the program. So I think that's excellent. Is there a language academy at the migrant program?
We don't have that distinction because we provide some primary language support.
Okay.
And if they're migrant students, they still have the language needs and the ability to, we have intervention techs that work in our program and provide push in during that time as well.
Okay, because I do know that some of the migrant students are extremely advanced, right? And then others are considered newcomers. And I'm just hoping we address the newcomers as we are addressing the newcomers in the latter summer school program. That would be my suggestion.
We will do that through a push in service.
Super. And then my last question is, how are the invitations being distributed?
So they will go through the principals. We've met with the principals at Principals Council this past week and talked all about the different programs. And then Mrs. Arias has been communicating with the principals that after this presentation tonight and incorporating any feedback that we might get, that they will begin to receive the criteria and the lists. And then the teachers will begin to, it's like on a Google Doc, the teachers will begin to make those lists based on that criteria. Some of that criteria is not with us yet. We don't have it yet, the spring assessments and some things. So, but they'll have the list and they can begin to start to put the names and populate, and then as the data becomes more available, then they can add, edit, or change.
And they will be, I mean, you're talking about an invitation, will it be mailed home in a 3x5 envelope? I mean, how are the parents
The
receiving?
teachers will be notifying the parents that they've been invited.
So will it be a phone call?
I would imagine it'll be a variety of
Yeah,
different
okay.
ways. I would imagine that a paper will go home, explaining the program. I would imagine a phone call will go home. Yeah, it would be varied, and we wanted to come from the teachers because we want the teachers to be able to talk to them about, why their child was selected for this really exciting program.
Yes.
And we know that the teachers have the most influence on getting our parents and kiddos to do things.
That's right.
And
one question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
My last question is, what if people who don't qualify really want to come?
Right.
Well, we're going to try and get as many people in there as we can. And it's a little bit of triage, if you will, that, there are some limited resources in terms of staffing and space and so forth, prioritizing. But
It just sounds so fun. I'm imagining
I
there's going to
know.
be a
I know.
demand.
I know.
I'm
We're,
sorry.
we're so fortunate in this community. There's a lot of other options. Boys and
Yes.
Girls Club,
Mhm.
Community Center, Art Center. So there are, other
Mhm.
summer enrichment opportunities.
And they are opening again, so.
We hope so.
I have one question.
Yes, Mrs.
I can't remember who mentioned it, but someone mentioned something intriguing, which was that in some programs or some opportunities, there would be teachers having the opportunity to work with the children who are going to be in their fall classes. That sounded really interesting. I'd like to know more about that and the extent to which we might be able to do that.
Right. So I'm going to have Mr. Nisley address that. And it's kind of a pilot for us this year. It's a new idea. And it really took a commitment of, and it's actually was Mr. Nisley who came to us and said, my staff is talking about this and I'd like to know if we could do it. And so he said, sure. And it required a commitment from the staff. You needed to have enough of the staff members to come because if you're going to place the children in there that they're going to have, staff has to be there. So it was kind of a unique situation, but Mr. Nisley?
Yeah, it really came from the teachers. When I presented, summer school options, and they said, oh my gosh, it'd be great if we could have the kids we're gonna have next year. And thought about it a little bit and thought, well, let's see if we could maybe pull that off. So we tried, and we got enough, it would take enough teachers to volunteer to be part of that. And we're fortunate to have that. So we're really excited about exploring it, seeing how it goes.
About how many teachers do you have signed up for that?
17.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
We'll see how it works.
Good idea.
Mr. Favela or Mrs. Lopez, would either of you have any questions or comments?
The one question I had, you asked it, and that was what happens if people who want to go don't get the invitation. So I wanted to know if there was a process in line for that. But I thought the presentation was very good.
Thank you, Ms. Lopez. And we will have a wait list for students because we also know that students that we invite won't be able to come. And we use that wait list even into the first few days of school as parents might have committed, but then plans change and then we can invite other children. So we want to maximize our space that we have with them.
Great.
Yeah, terrific program.
Thank you. We're very excited.
Terrific program. Good work.
Mr. Favela, did you have a comment?
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I saw what I was hoping to see in the different programs, everything from, the possibility of transportation for migrant students to social emotional learning for our junior high students, which I know is so important, and just really tailoring this experience to those elements. So really thank you all for considering so much for this summer program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Mrs. Rivas, I'm sorry, did you have any more comments? Okay,
Thank you very
so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you so much. Nice presentation.
Okay, we'll be moving on now to board operations, school visitation protocol. I actually don't know how to move through this one. Do we have
any speakers?
Do we have any speakers? Okay.
Yes,
Well,
we
I
do.
believe we'll start with you, Mr. Favela, with speakers.
Yes, we do. Let me pull this up here. And we have a comment from Sandra Forrest.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay. I never know. Thank you for the opportunity to address this group. My name is Sandra Forrest. I've been a Fallbrook resident since 1990 and taught at Potter Junior High for 24 years, retiring about 6 years ago. I am speaking today about the Fallbrook Union Elementary School District Governing Board policy regarding school visits by board members. Currently, governing board members must coordinate their school visits through the superintendent's office and be accompanied by the superintendent during their school visit. During my years at Potter, there were many campus and classroom visitations. Governing board members in particular were never required to be accompanied by any of the superintendents. When governing board members would be on campus, our principal would usually give staff a heads up. We were just encouraged to make them feel welcome and continue with instruction as usual. Visits by governing board members were always welcomed, and I can recall that the Potter staff even encouraged them to come more frequently. It is crucial that governing board members have increased opportunities for formal as well as informal visits to all school sites and classrooms. Once elected, all governing board members must complete extensive training in all areas related to their duties. Preparation for their service is demanding, detailed, and ongoing. The stakeholders of this district expect board members to be well informed about circumstances which affect students in their education. I am certain that all our governing board members are fully capable of appropriate and effective interaction with everyone at all school sites on their own and without being attended by an expensive chaperone. In order for governing board members to become more familiar with district educational activities and become better acquainted with staff and students, Fallbrook Union Elementary School District needs a new policy on school visits. I encourage this board to replace the current policy with one which simply requires governing board members to coordinate their visits with the school's principal. This is the standard protocol in most districts. Thank you for your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you very much for taking the time to call in. Are there any more, Mr. Favela?
No, there are no more.
Okay, thank you. So I believe now we need a motion and we need a reading of what the new policy might look like. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Can I talk?
Yes.
A first and a second to then have some discussion.
Perfect. Okay, I make a motion that that we adopt a change in the board protocol regarding school visitations. And that the language would read, board members may visit school sites by making arrangements for their visit with the school's principal or vice principal.
Okay, do we have a first? A motion to first, and we need a first and a second.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, and do we have a second? And then we'll have discussion.
A second.
Okay, and now we are open for discussion.
I guess I'm unclear as to why we want to change the policy. What are we are we not allowed to go to the schools as we are now with the superintendent? Or are you just wanting to be able to go on your own without any kind of person from the district office going along with you?
Well, it's a good question, and it's the right question to ask. I think the current policy is too restrictive. It requires us to set up a formal visit to the schools, which anytime you're having the superintendent with you, it becomes formal. And I think that we as elected officials need to have the best information we can about our schools, our teachers, our students, the staff, the principals. We need to really have not just information, but a feel for it. And in the past, and it's been true here, but it's also current at other school districts. In Fallbrook, board members would just touch base with a school principal and say, I'd like to drop by a classroom, or a teacher would invite them to a classroom and they drop by. And it's just one person sitting in the back of the room. It's informal. There's an opportunity for a teacher to talk with the school board members, an opportunity for the school board member to talk to the students. I kind of worked to do my due diligence before I brought this to the board. And you might remember that we first brought this back in January at our meeting on the 19th. And I spoke to school districts in San Diego area and all the way north up to Monterey and Santa Rosa. And uniformly, the information that I got when I asked, what are your protocols regarding school board members visiting schools? They all said that what they required is that board members would touch base either with the principal or the vice principal and make arrangements for their visit. And that was pretty much it. I also then thought it would be important for me to reach out to our teachers, both current teachers and teachers who've taught here before. And the question I asked was, how do you feel about school board members coming into your classroom? And I think Mr. Ostrowski, who spoke regarding the FEDA's comments, teachers' comments, our own, said it very well, that teachers like to have us in their classroom. They recognize that there's importance to the interaction that they can have with us. And I heard from teachers who currently are in our district saying to me, we kind of feel that the board isn't all that interested in us. It used to be that they would come by, they don't come by anymore. And there's sort of a distance. They only come as part of a group. And it's awkward. It's more like a show and tell. And then I talked to teachers who had been here in past times, some teaching 20 years, 15 years. And they kind of echoed what Ms. Forrest said, which is they enjoyed having school board members come for informal visits. So, you know, it's a standard operating procedure for districts all around the state. And if there were issues with it, then they wouldn't be doing it because there would be problems with it. I also checked with the San Diego County Office of Education. I said, you have a broader view of this because you see other districts. What information can you share with me about this? And they essentially echoed what the individual districts had said to me, which was the importance of board members not operating in a vacuum, but rather having information about how parents are feeling, teachers, students, what's happening in our school, what's working, what other resources might they need. And also said that, again, it was an informal process, that you work through the site administrator, principal, vice principal, and coordinate your visit. So that's a long answer, but I wanted to really respond to what I think the question that's at the heart of this, which is why would we change it? And I think there are a lot of reasons for doing that. And just one other final thing. I really enjoyed our visits this month to our Pendleton schools, to Live Oak, and to Fraser. And it was great to visit and meet with principals and vice principals and see the school sites. But that gave me one level of knowledge. It was kind of what's the physical plan, what's the leadership team like, but it's not the only experience or exposure I'd want to have. I think there are other levels of information and interactions that are equally important. So with that,
Any more questions?
I just have several comments.
Yes.
So I don't disagree that it's very important for all of us to visit schools. I think that that is certainly one of our responsibilities as board members to this school district. But I think that you're going to get two entirely different answers if you're asking teachers if they mind if you go into their classroom versus if you're asking administration. And I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I was an administrator for a long time, and I don't care what the question might be of coming to see the school. Anytime a school board member would want to come to see my site, it's a complete disruption of my day. Not that I don't want them there. It's not that I don't want people to come and see what we're doing, because I think it's fabulous what is happening at the schools. But I think that there's other ways for us to do it than to just drop in around the principal. If we're thinking we're going to drop in and the principal's not going to want to be there with us, I think you're going to be misrepresented on that. I think if you want to go to a particular school, the principal of that school is going to want to walk with you. They're going to want to go on that site visit with you, and they're going to want to see what is happening in the classrooms as you see it. They know what's happening in their school, but if we're going to go there, we're disrupting their day-to-day activities. there's just no getting around it. I mean, you saw what we did when we went to Live Oak and San Onofre and Mary Fay Pendleton. That probably took weeks to coordinate all of those visits. So the principals and APs, they're already incredibly taxed to do their daily job. And now we're going to ask them to have maybe 5, 10, 15 different visits, in any given 3 or 4 weeks, 5 months, whatever it might take. I mean, if you want to go whenever you want to go, then there's no limit to the number of times that you could go there, and that disrupts their life every single time you do. I just think we really need to think long and hard about this. I appreciate the fact that you did a lot of work in finding out what other school districts are doing, but I'm not sure we looked that much in depth of what Fallbrook really wants. You talked to the teachers, but did anybody talk to any of the principals? And even if you did, my gut reaction would be that they would say, of course we want you in our classrooms, because they would never say no to a board member. That's not their way to do business. So I just feel like we really need to think long and hard about this. And to my knowledge, up until this point, we haven't been denied an opportunity to go to a school and visit. And why would we want to not keep the process that we have? And who knows more about every single one of our schools than our superintendent? I mean, she has put herself out there to know every single school and know what they're doing. So again, I have a very strong feeling that we're opening up some doors that are really going to upset the leadership of this district.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any more comments?
I have a comment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I actually did speak to several of our principals about this and said, if you feel comfortable sharing with me, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. And they echoed pretty much what Ms. Lopez said, was they love for us to come visit, but it is a disruption to their day. I mean, the entire school prepares for a board visit, and regardless of what our intentions are when we go there, I mean, we all just love to see the kids in the classroom and see what's going on. They're, to them, it's their boss, their big boss coming to visit. And it's like I said last time, there is no just casual drop in and visit. It is a big deal. And as a parent, I want my child's principal to be supporting his teacher. I want them to be, dealing with discipline issues. I don't want them to be taking time out of their schedule to show dignitaries around. And I think, you all that are newer to the board, it's been such a disadvantage to have COVID, because you haven't been able to see all of the regular events that go on in our schools. We have so many great opportunities, like you said, to see the schools in different ways. Those formal visits are, you see one thing, you see the way it's presented, but when you can go to open house, at open house, we separate, we go in every single classroom, or as many as you have time for. You can talk to parents and students with community events that we go to, Alair, the parent nights, all of these things. And every time you go to an event like that, you get kind of a different view of the schools. And we haven't been able to do any of that since you all have been here. So I would just kind of ask that you be patient and wait until things get back to normal. And I also agree with Ms. Lopez that having Dr. Singh with us is really important. I mean, when we were at San Onofre, there were questions that we had, when we're there, it makes us sort of think of things that we're wondering at a district level that the principals can't always answer. And so, it's important to have Dr. Singh with us to give us that information, which is another issue as far as information. And the 5 of us board members, I mean, one of our kind of standards is that we all have the same information. And if we're going to schools at different times and talking to different people, we're not going to all be on the same page. And then, I just worry that it'll almost become a competition of, well, I went to this school and, oh, well, I haven't been to that school lately, so I have to make an appointment to go to that school. So I don't know. I think the way that we've been doing it has been good. I love visiting schools. I've never felt like I wasn't able to go to a school or participate, especially as a parent. I've been able to do a lot of things. So I don't know. I don't see a problem with the way things are. And I would just caution also that, when you say you want to arrange with the principal, again, that we're the principal's bosses, and they're never going to say no to us. They're never going to say it doesn't suit, or that, that's taking too much time from my schedule. So we need to be aware of that. The other thing I want to point out is that those of you that are new to the board haven't had an opportunity, I don't think yet, to do the CSBA Masters in Governments classes. And I think those are really helpful. They spend a lot of time in those classes helping us understand our role as board members and sort of the distinction between the board's role versus the superintendent and the cabinet's role, and the what's our responsibility and what's the superintendent's responsibility. And that's something really important to keep in mind. We're not supposed to be in the classroom looking at staffing or the nitty gritty details. We are supposed to be looking at the district at a higher level and looking at us as a whole. So I think that's part of the reason we have the policy that we do, to give us the view that we need to have as board members, and of course to be involved and to be knowledgeable about what's going on in the district, but not getting down into those nitty gritty details where we don't belong.
I have a question.
Yes.
We have two board members who are parents. You're a parent, and Mr. Favela is a parent. When you go on a school campus, are you accompanied by the superintendent?
You mean when I go on my own child's campus?
Any campus. When you go on your child's campus, can you go by yourself?
If I'm going as a parent volunteer.
But you are also a school board member.
Right.
So is Mr. Favela. So anytime either of you go onto a campus, you're going on not just as a parent, but as a school board member.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Yes.
Mrs. Lopez, when you did career day, were you accompanied by the superintendent?
No.
Okay. So there needs to be parity. It doesn't make sense that some of our board members, because you're parents, and I get it, if I had kids in school, I'd want to be there too. But you get to go. Anytime.
There are many opportunities for us to be involved if you're not a parent or you're not, a volunteer. There's lots of opportunities.
Mrs. Lopez, I think she was in the middle of her thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
Letting her-
apologize.
That's okay. I think that perhaps because you've been a parent for a long time, it seems very natural for you, whether it's handling as kids are coming off. I know, Mr. Favela, you've been a volunteer to help with that, or something in the classroom. It feels very much a part of your experience with your child. But the reality is you're also a school board member.
Well, when I'm going to my child's school, I'm not going into random classrooms to observe. I'm going to the library to make copies or to the art room to prepare a lesson that I've arranged with my teacher. I'm not just kind of going in to see this or that. I really am going as a parent, and I've told them before, if I come in with my name tag on, I'm coming as a board member. If I come in with my PTA t-shirt on, I'm coming as a parent. And we do have great volunteer opportunities. I mean, if you just want that experience of being, kind of being a fly on the wall in the school and being part of the just the culture there, I'm sure that there's a way that, I know we have retired teachers that adopt a classroom, or really anybody in the community can join a PTA and go to PTA meetings and events. So there's other ways to get involved, but I've never just gone in and just sat in the classroom to observe as a parent.
I just want to make a quick comment. I also did a few outreach when I saw this on the agenda, and I talked to a principal from another school district up north, and she said their school district assigned board members to schools. So like you're Potter and you're, so that every school felt like they got a little love from a board member. And I think that she said it was fabulously effective, and she was a principal. And I think the other compelling thing is I believe you've done fairly deep dive in the research, and I don't think there's any other school district this restrictive. So I think that I know that I talked to Cipriano about how they do it at their district, and I actually attended their board workshop and heard it discussed there as well. And I think that we have the most restrictive of any school district that I know of. So I think that might be the concern. And then possibly the other concern is we have 3 members on the board who don't have kids in school. So
I think, if it's a matter of comparing school districts, I would say our school district's doing some really great things, and maybe those other districts should look at our district for an example of what's best practices.
And I can tell you from working in Vista, where you talked to Cipriano, that there was never a visit to my school where the superintendent did not accompany the board member. So unless they've completely changed their policies in the last 5 years.
They have. They have. And I just wanted to clarify, because you made a very good point about how deep a dive it's appropriate for a board member to do. I just want to clarify. I don't want to get in the weeds. That's not my job. That's not my role. We have a superintendent. We have a cabinet. They're the ones who handle the implementation and the logistics. What I'm more interested in is I want to be available to teachers if they want me to come into their classroom. I want to be able to say, okay, sure, I'll come into your classroom. If I want to get a sense of what a school is like, I'd like to maybe go visit 1 or 2 classrooms and not have it be part of a tour group, or not have it. I mean, it's not just a teacher's boss that might come, the principal, it's the teacher's boss's boss's boss when the superintendent comes. I mean, it is a much bigger deal. So I just wanted to clarify that you're absolutely right. Our role is not to get into the weeds, but our role is also not to operate in a vacuum. And that's what's prompting this change, request for a change.
Mrs. Lieber,
One last comment that I would just like to
my
make.
perspective.
Yes.
I'd like to share my perspective if I can.
Yes.
I appreciate the dialogue very much and listening to the conversation that we're having. I just, as my perception is, having been a principal and a site administrator for 12 years, a superintendent for 10, I think much of what Mrs. Lopez and Mrs. Libas have shared is true from the perspective of a principal. We love having visitors to our schools. We have exceptional schools, and principals want to show off their school. I think the distinguishing factor here is an official board member visit versus an informal visit to a school, where it might be a special event like a leadership day or an awards assembly. And those kinds of events are easy for us to create special events by month at every school, so board members know what's happening at a school and can be a part of the authentic kind of things that are happening within a school. As the superintendent, this is not about, my availability to you as the leader of the school district is to be available to answer questions and to provide context of what's going on in a school. But setting all that aside, I want our administrators to hear right now and to understand that my perspective, after having been a site administrator for a very long time, Mrs. Norby was a principal for over 20 years. To have 5 individual board members setting up 5 individual meetings at a frequency with which they want to at any time will be very disruptive to our principals and assistant principals. We have very high expectations of what our principals are here to accomplish. It is in the best interest of our schools for our principals and assistant principals to be able to do their job, and to imagine as a principal coordinating an unknown frequency with 5 different board members. This likely has the opportunity to be very disruptive to the working life of our principal and assistant principals, and that concerns me deeply. So I hear your interests and really what your interests are about having an authentic opportunity to be in a school. And I think there's other ways to do that. I think that official board visits continue to be arranged through the superintendent's office so that we have the bigger picture. We know what the broad events are going on in the district. For example, if it's an assessment week, those are things that we coordinate around. And Mrs. Libas, I agree with you. It's unfortunate that we've had, as COVID, no one's been in our schools. But when this policy or this protocol, it's not a policy, I also want to make sure that's clear. It's a protocol for when I arrived here was in place. And we have board visits to schools once a month where we can, as a board, set aside a day, go as a team and really be able to look and dialogue with each other about the great things that are going on in our schools and to be able to answer questions about that. If we have 5 board members individually coordinating formal visits at our schools, it is not in the best interest of our site leaders. And so my job is to ensure that I'm creating the conditions in which our site leaders can lead their schools. And they will be gracious and always host, but it will be negatively impacting, I believe, their schedules. They will make it work, but it is not in the best interest of our leaders to be scheduling board visits this way. If we have the opportunity to create lots of information for you about many other informal ways for you to be a part of the school communities, and that you can pick and choose the things that you'd like to go to. I certainly don't go to every one of those. I could never go to every one of those and us still be able to do our jobs. I believe that something like that is a really beautiful compromise to get you to where you want to be more involved in the schools, and we want that to happen, but we also then are not highly impactful on our site leaders and their abilities to do their job. So that's my input and my recommendation.
Thank you.
You bet.
So I think we should take a vote. Has everybody felt like they've had their opportunity to give some comments? Everybody
So
clear?
I'd like to say one more thing, just one last comment, and that is that when we all took this job, we understood that it was really for all of us to work as a team of 5. And this just feels like one more thing where we'll be breaking that up, where people can do things individually. And I just really would like us to get to know each other better as a team before we start to do that.
Thank you. Mr. Favela, you haven't had a chance to speak. I see you raising your finger.
Yes, I think all the input that's been given is very important to consider, to take into account in all this. We definitely do not want to create more of a burden on our site administrators than what they're already dealing with. So I think it's important to keep that in mind as we take this into account. But I do also reflect on how I came to be a trustee here. And it started as a parent. I'm still a parent, but it really began as an effort to observe the schools in my own individual capacity. And the more I got to learn about our schools, the more I became a champion for our schools, right? So it's really great. I had that opportunity to do that, and I really see that our 2 board members that do not have children in the schools don't have that opportunity. I mean, they do have an opportunity to visit, but to be able to formulate and observe from their own perspectives, I think it's a great advantage for our schools, for our board. And I definitely would like to have our board be that, or our district, our school district, to be that welcoming for our board. I mean, we're a small town here. We want to keep that small town feel. And, I just really would like for all of our board members to have that opportunity to create those relations with our schools that we've been able to create.
Thank you for your comments. I appreciate you all taking the time to think this through. I think it's really obviously a passion issue for many of us. I will like to take the vote now, and I will start with Mr. Favela.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lundin.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lopez.
Nay.
And Mrs. Libas.
No.
And Mrs. Lieber, aye. It passes 3-2. Thank you very much. And now we will be moving on to our human resources. We have 5 action items. The first action item will be, it is recommended the governing board approve the job description, the network system analysis. And the job description was attached to the agenda, and I hope you've all had a chance to look it over. Do I have a motion to approve the job description?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, and we will, any comments? And we will take a vote. I will begin with Mr. Favela.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lundin.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
And Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
And Mrs. Lieber, aye. And the next action item is network system analysis position. Is recommended the governing board approve one new 8-hour network system analysis position. Do we have a motion?
I so
I
moved.
move to approve.
And Mrs. Lopez, you'll be the second?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And do we have any discussion? And we'll take a vote. Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
Mrs. Libas,
Aye.
Mr. Favela,
Aye.
Mrs. Landine,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The action item number 3 is transportation technician. Is recommended the governing board approve one new 3.92-hour transportation technician position. Are there any comments? Well, first, let's take a motion. Who would like to make the motion? Anybody?
I'll move.
And a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and any comments? And we'll begin with the vote then. So Mrs. Libas,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Favela,
Aye.
and Mrs. Lundin.
Aye.
And I too vote aye. And then the fourth action item is it is recommended the board approve the proposed certified substitute rate increase. Yes, this is brilliant. You know, you can only get the best when you pay well. And we are a bit of a drive for some people. And we are having more traffic back again. And I just think it's brilliant. I mean, you guys really just catch on to these, you know, you're almost, I don't know, like you were saying, Mrs. Martin, they're sometimes a month ahead of the curve. So that's my comment. I probably shouldn't have given it just yet. Do we have a motion
I'd like to make that motion. It's a great idea.
and a second?
A second.
And now, any comments?
I agree in the retention bonus, or I know it's not really that, but having consistency in the substitutes. I've seen,
Yes.
you know, the substitutes that stay, they know the kids' names, they know what the school culture is like. It's so important.
And with all these meetings, I mean.
We try to do them after school.
But still, you just have a lot of unknowns when you don't have, if you make that call and there's nobody available, like. Very difficult.
And our substitute, Mrs. Lieber, on top of that, our substitute pool has diminished.
Okay.
So this is going to
Competition.
bring us, we were the first ones a number of years ago to raise our rate, and everybody else has now come back around. And especially during COVID,
Mhm.
you know, it's gotten very competitive
I
for
bet.
substitutes. So we appreciate your support. Yeah, we
Great
need to build that pool back up again.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think it's excellent. I'm always for getting quality teachers in the classroom. So do we have a motion? We have a second. Let's take a vote. So Mrs. Lundin
Aye.
and Mr. Favela
Aye.
and Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
Ms. Libas.
Aye.
And Karen, aye, yes. Okay, and the last action is probationary 2 to tenure status. And I'm so sad we don't know their names, 527850. So it is recommended the governing board approve the following certified employees completing their second consecutive year of employment in a probationary position requiring certification for re-election. So congratulations to all of the employees. And do I have a motion?
I'll move.
In a second? Anybody?
Second.
Okay, and any comments?
I just like to mention, if I can, this is such a special honor and occasion for folks who are moving from probationary to permanent status in our district. In normal times, we, as you know, and will remember some of you, is that we have a special tenure tea where we invite our folks who have achieved permanent status as teachers in our district to a special celebration. So we'll make that happen again as soon as we're able to do that. But we really do honor it in that we have very high expectations for teachers in our district. So to move to this level is it's really an important milestone, and we're so proud of this for our teachers when this happens. So thank you.
I look forward to meeting them. when we
Yeah,
have that
for
tea.
sure. So
That'd be
thank you
great.
so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's a shame we don't get to meet them, but there's 21, it looks like.
Pretty
Is that-
soon.
when
We're
the
gonna
time's
keep
right.
hoping that we can get
Yeah.
people back in
Yes.
groups. So
Yeah.
pretty soon.
So congratulations to all of these teachers. And now we will take a vote. Mr. Favela,
Aye.
Mrs. Landine,
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez,
Aye.
Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
And I vote aye. And now we're on to educational services. This is for information only. There was the workshop and conference attendance. Any questions or concerns?
Just wanted to comment that the right workshop sounded like a
Yes.
great opportunity, and I'm glad to see the continued focus on equity in our district. Of course.
And any more comments? And we'll move on to the information, the Williams complaint, the third quarterly report.
No complaints?
No complaints, so no comments. So congratulations once
Hey.
again.
Of course.
Once again. Now we're going to go to the consent agenda. Does anybody want anything pulled from the consent agenda? Or do you have any comments on the consent agenda? I'm just glancing through.
I wanted to thank, I believe it was the Fallbrook Village Rotary that made a donation for professional development.
Yeah, books for
Yes.
our teachers. Nice. Yeah.
Yes, I printed that out as well and wanted to make a comment. That is quite spectacular that they would give so
They're
much.
so supportive of us.
That's
Mhm.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Do you want to comment as well?
yes, Mr. Favela?
Yes, I had a chance to review the contract with migrant education and just really enjoyed reading through it. Really want to commend what's happening with migrant education and glad we can continue to provide the services to these students. So very interested in learning more.
We're going to be bringing Mr. Favela, and we're going to be bringing a nice presentation for you in either May or June. We're trying to map out all the things that are coming in our LCAP and our budget, but we're really pleased, and Dr. Curcio will be really pleased to come and share more specifics about our migrant education plan overall. So that'll be a nice opportunity coming up soon.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay, so I don't believe we're pulling anything from consent. And are there any more comments on consent? I think we got some new vans, some new buses. Congratulations.
It's so silly to get excited about new.
No,
stuff.
it's so exciting. I know you made a presentation in your interim report, and so it's nice to see that you pulled the trigger.
We did, as you mentioned, anticipating the needs. So we hope to be able to return to regular education transportation next year. That's our goal. But, there's a shortage statewide, actually nationwide, for bus drivers. And we needed to get in line and get these buses now so that we have them. So, sorry, I get excited about these little things, but if it's one step closer to being able to transport our kids.
That's
Wonderful
news.
Congratulations.
And Dr. Singh, I believe you mentioned that you are considering, or we're looking into busing for the fall. So congratulations.
As Cindy just said, Mrs. Martin just said, the bus driver shortage is real. So our team is working on every possible creative strategy to do recruitment and hiring of bus drivers, and we have to have enough buses, but our goal is to return to our regular ed transportation program in the fall. So we're going to keep working like crazy to make that happen, but a lot of things have to line up. So when it gets a little closer and probably into the summer, we'll be able to come back to you and let you know. But we're very hopeful that that can happen.
Yes, and thank you for answering all the questions that were submitted over the weekend
Oh, you're
and
welcome.
today. I know it puts a lot of pressure on your staff and you.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
very welcome.
So I believe we now are going to take a vote on the consent agenda. We do have a first and a second.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
I make the motion.
Okay, and do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, and now we will take the vote. Mrs. Landine.
Aye.
Mr. Favela.
Aye.
Mrs. Lopez.
Aye.
Mrs. Libas.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Before we close the meeting, I'd like to ask if there, from the board members or anybody in the cabinet, are there any future agenda items that we should consider for next month?
We certainly will have plenty to bring to you
Oh, my
in
goodness.
the next 2 months.
We will see you May.
In May, and then, May and June are our busiest budget development and the LCAP development. And so there's lots happening. So we'll be communicating with you, but there certainly is plenty for us to do.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're
Meeting
welcome.
Is adjourned at, let me see if I can get the time off my screen, 8:14.